Ladies and gentlemen, welcome at our another Q&A session at AfryKamera. This time we have with us Paula Agostinho, the producer of the film Beyond My Steps. Hello, Paula.
Hi, very nice to meet you, Arthur.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you for finding the time to meet with us. Apparently, firstly, I have to ask about the beginning of this project. What was the usually and actually how did it all begin?
Oh, well, me and Camille, which is the director, we were big fans of the dance company, contemporary dance company of Angola. And we've watched a few of their shows in the past, and we were very, very interested on how the process happened. Where did the first idea for a show came to happen, and then how it was transformed into dance movements and a narrative for the show. And so we were very curious about it. We were not very intelligent on our first steps because we were very amateur in this kind of documentary and storytelling. So we started to shoot the documentary without knowing what the show would be about. And we wanted the movie to be an extension of the theme, but we didn't know what the theme was. So it was a surprise along the way. We're not going to do that again, I think, but it was a very, very enriched process in that form.
And can you tell us when was the moment that actually you find the theme, that you find the subject, that you were sure that this is the story that you want to tell and this is something that you want to share with the viewers?
Well, I think it was about 2/3 along the way. We were still doing the last interviews, and we started to realize that the show was about this confrontation between past and present and future and tradition and modernity. And then we started to ask questions about that theme precisely and wanting to know what the dancers thought about that theme according to the show itself and about their own lives. Because some of them are not from the capital city, most of them, and they had to move from their origin places and they had to adapt to a new city. So what did they bring that it was still useful? What did they have to give up on? And it was very interesting to follow their reflections on it.
The things that they say, the reflections that they share with us, with the camera, in front of the camera, are truly fascinating. I was curious if for you, this documentary, it's also like the all image of contemporary Angola, if it was like pars pro toto of the whole nation for you.
Well, I think this documentary is more focused on Luanda, so I think it would be a little bit unfair to us to say that it represents all people in the whole country. But I believe it's a very, very common issue that you have to move from where you were born because of the Civil War, and you have to adapt. And then you have to confront what the past has taught you, what your parents have taught you. And if that is useful today and inform it, or if you have any advantages in staying stuck to a way that you were or what you were thought of being. Me personally, and for Camille as well, I think, because we also reflected on it ourselves. So it was really enriching in that point.
Gotcha. And can you tell us a little bit about how did you actually pick the characters? How did you pick the people that you decided to talk? Did you talk to everybody from the group, or did you decide to talk only with some individuals and then maybe build the story through them? How the process looked like?
In the beginning, because our main focus and our initial thoughts were how does a show gets made. So we talked to everybody from the artistic director to every dancer to the rehearser. And then we started to focus on our main characters that ended up being those 5 dancers. I think the artistic director is a very known personality here for her work, and it's a valuable and immense work. But we wanted someone else to speak, and we wanted the dancers to speak and to gain some main character place in this documentary. So we then focused on those 5 wonderful dancers because they had beautiful reflections on what was happening, and we could go with them along the way as they were finding about these things with us, starting to reflect on it with us. Okay, so what do you think about this? Oh, I never thought about it. Let me think about it. And then we're seeing that reflection grow and take form. So it was really, really nice.
This relationship between, as you mentioned, past and contemporary world, and tradition and modernity is truly fascinating in the film. I was just curious what you learned from yourself from that documentary in these terms. How did you look from the new perspective at that correlation? Was it something that brought something new for you as well?
Yeah, it was a great learning process. I grew up in a time where civil war was happening, so I traveled along the country, through the country, my own country, very late in life. So the only thing I knew was the capital, which is very strange to say, but it's true. So to hear experiences from people that were born and grew and had most of their lives, some of them just came to Luanda after they were 18. So they had a whole life outside this capital. That was the only thing I knew. Really enriching for me in a deep way, because they had a whole different life and experience to share. And about culture itself, we've seen some things on the television, but some of these dances are not documented. They are not well studied. And also for this company, which has a very forward thinking, a very contemporary aesthetic, it's like singing or learning any other art. You have to know the original thing first and study it very well, and then you start to play, and then you start to be original, and then you start to create something new. So for us to also follow that process of how things are originally done and why, and is it associated with a ritual or a specific moment in time that they use those dances to celebrate something. So it was really nice to see a few bits of culture and dancing of this immense country happening in that rehearsing room, and seeing them, some had some recollection of those dances. 3 of them are from Cabinda, which is the north of the country, and they witnessed those dances being danced on their own cities and their own rituals, and that was easier for them to understand the dances. But for us was amazing. We wanted to travel to those original places and shoot there, but it wasn't possible. But this was the second best thing.
What you said is also like fascinating in terms of that if you think about the identity of these people, you can see that actually on this identity, on this national identity, there is so many different elements, there is so many different roots, there is so many different things that actually bring the bigger mixture that gives us something that is bigger than that. So I was just curious if you also like learned something new about this, about the identity of this nation.
Yeah, I think we're a very big mosaic, right? We're very different. Starting from the national languages, you have, so the country is really different. You have some things that are very similar to the Congo region of dancing or approaches to culture and to rituals and traditions. But it's very different. And it was really nice to learn those little small bits coming together and trying to create something unique and something that the contemporary dance language tried to tie and bring together. So that was a really nice process to watch. Okay, so this dance is done this way. How do you transform it now? How do you bring another language to reinterpret everything you've learned? And that was the element that glue everything together.
I have to tell you that it was also a big surprise for me because I didn't even expect how many elements you can express by dancing, how many messages actually you can send to the viewer, how many elements you can include in that. So it was also like the big discovery for me, and I was fully fascinated by that.
Oh, that's very nice. And some of the people get a bit anguished by the end of the movie because you don't answer to anything. You just raise questions. But we were very happy with that reaction. We wanted to raise questions. We wanted people to ask themselves about their present and about their past and what their identity is, and if they are trying to adapt to new things, or if they are feeling like they have to maintain a certain way of things being and their own identity, or if they have to give something up to evolve and to live in the real world today. So questions, questions, questions. That's also what we wanted to make people aware of and think about.
Gotcha. And in the end, I have to ask you about how your characters reacted for the film. Did they were they involved in editing process, or was it a big surprise for them when the film was finished and they just see the effect?
Well, we included all of them in, not in the, well, a bit in the editing project because we had several cuts along the way, and we always made sure to show them and get their reaction. I think they were very pleased with the aesthetic of the documentary itself. And they were a bit surprised about the approach we did, because we always said we wanted to know more about their own personal lives. We always said that we wanted to show a little bit of how this is made and how is this transformed, how do rehearsals happen, and so on. But then came the tradition and the identity and the memory and the past themes to that. And then we tried to explore that on their own minds. And so I think they were a bit surprised of how the story came out to be. But by the end of the day, I think everyone thought it was a relevant reflection and an important one to have, and an urgent one, even because of civil war. Luanda is the smallest province in the country, and it's the more populated one. So there's a lot of different people with different notions of how things are made and their own identity, and they all have to get along. So it's hard, it's a challenge for everyone, and I think it's a very relevant reflection today.
Yeah, I think that it's very relevant for what's going on in the world today, especially when I was watching your film. I was like really, like I was smiling when I was seeing so many different people with so many different histories and so many different backgrounds, that they are all together, working together for their success in the group. So it was like the really important message in the time when we are trying to separate again and be opposite to ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Great. Thank you so much, Paula, for the great film and for finding the time for us. And hopefully we will see you in Poland next year when the COVID is over.
Oh, that would be very nice. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you for inviting us, and have a great festival. I hope everything goes according to your plans.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.